So let's go ahead and have a seat. You can sit however you like, of course, as long as your spine feels straight and aligned and your shoulders are relaxed, your jaw is relaxed. Go ahead and close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. Take a deep breath in. Big exhale through the mouth. Just kind of move inwards. Notice all of the sensations in your body, all of them. And as you're paying attention to all of the sensations in your body, begin to breathe a little deeper, a little slower. If you can do an ujjayi breath, that would be great. And then notice your mind state, your emotional state, your energetic state. Just kind of feel into all of those areas. And then let's use all of that information to set our intention for practice today. So your intention is always a personal thing. It's whatever would serve you best. Intentions can be very powerful if we're really clear about knowing what we need. So palms together in front of the heart, just pausing to set your own intention. And then another deep inhale through the nose. Big exhale through the mouth. Relax your arms and just roll your shoulders back a couple of times. And if you are cross-legged, put your hands on your knees. If your legs are extended, you could tuck your hands under your thighs. We're going to do 3 big torso circles in each direction, kind of find out what's going on in the side hips. So you're exhaling as you're leaning forward, and you're inhaling as you're leaning back. And if you breathe nice and slow, your movements will be nice and slow. And of course, make sure you do 3 of these in each direction. As you finish those out, go ahead and transition to your hands and knees. Let's do a little movement on all 4s. So you can do a traditional cat-cow. You can do kind of a sassy cat and make circles with your hips. You can be more of a dog and wag your tail. I want you to just move a little bit. Just kind of checking out how the spine feels. And then when you're ready, go ahead and exhale into child's pose. Forehead down, buns to heels. And this can be extended child's pose or traditional, whatever feels better for you. Scoot forward into Sphinx. Big toes are touching. Heels are not. And your heart is just pulling forward. So you're literally dragging some length into your low back. It's a really minor amount, but is still very useful. And then downward facing dog. So it's your first down dog. Of course, you may pedal the feet a little bit or do some small movements initially. And then we're going to try and find some stillness and some length in the spine. From here, we'll walk the feet forward, keep the knees bent, and just hang in ragdoll. Neck is relaxed, arms are just dangling, or you can grab your elbows. You can be really still and breathe length into your spine, or if you prefer, you could sway a little bit, whatever feels good. And then on your next inhale, reach the arms all the way up and overhead. And as you exhale, bring your palms together in front of your heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale and look up halfway. Exhale, back down. Step back with your left foot. Just hold your lunge here for a couple of breaths. Really sort of allowing the hips to drop and sink, the knees and thighs to separate. You're just kind of trying to feel your way into it. And then we're going to drop the left knee down. I want you to bring your right hand literally to the inside of your right knee. Roll onto the outside edge of your right foot. Then you can apply a little bit of pressure. So we're just kind of trying to find some sensation in this right hip area. Remember, not too much, not too little, just right. You're in control of this. So how much you press will determine how much sensation you feel. Take a few breaths here. Since we are doing hips today, we want to give our hips time to release. Go ahead and let your right knee point back up towards the ceiling and bring your right hand down inside the right foot. We're going to keep the left knee down on this one, maybe on the next one too, but for sure on this one. Left forearm comes to the mat, maybe the right one as well for lizard. And what I'd like you to do is make sure your right inner thigh is hugging in towards your torso. So you're trying to engage your inner thigh and hip. So you're actually working to keep this leg hugged in. Take one more breath here. And then go ahead and bring your hands on either side of your right foot and just rock the hips back to extend your right leg. Flex your ankle and toes, maybe even lift the chest. Just get a good hamstring stretch on this right side. So the whole back side of the body is obviously connected, but the common denominator is the glute. So when the glutes are tight, the hamstrings feel tight and the back feels tight. When the glutes release, the hamstring feels released, and so does the low back. So we're going to be focusing quite a bit on glutes. Go ahead and bend your right knee now. Arms come up and overhead, pelvis tilts, chest lifts, and we just start to let the hips move forward until we feel this on the front of that left hip. From here, we'll bring the hands down. Just move that right knee back to meet the left knee. Give yourself a little tail wag. Those of you doing vinyasas, this is your time to take off. The rest of us are just going to take child's pose. And then from child's pose, scooting forward to either Sphinx or Cobra. Either one of those is okay. And then downward facing dog. On the second down dog, really spread your fingers wide. Press through the palms. Push your hips up and back. Press those heels down. Then take a big step forward with your left foot. So we'll hold the lunge on this side for a couple of breaths, allowing thighs to separate, pelvis to drop. And then go ahead and drop your right knee down to your mat. Your left hand is going to come to the inside of your left knee. Roll into the outside edge of your left foot first. Then start to gently apply some pressure with that left hand until you feel just the right amount of something in your left hip. And some of us feel it on the outer hip, some of us feel it on the inner thigh, some of us are lucky enough to feel it in both places. And then let's go ahead and let the left knee point back up towards the ceiling. Left hand comes down inside the left foot. Come down onto your right forearm, maybe both. And of course, you may use a block if that makes it easier. It kind of makes the floor rise up to meet you. Just like we did on the other side, I'd like you to keep that left inner thigh really hugging in towards the torso so that you're Inner thigh and inner hip are actually working here. There's effort involved. And then come back up, hands on either side of the left foot. Extend your left leg, flex the ankle and toes. Maybe lengthen the spine a little bit. And we'll say hello to the left hamstring. Bend your left knee, bring the arms overhead, tilt your pelvis, and sink the hips forward until you feel the front of your right thigh, right hip. From here, we'll bring the hands down, step forward to a standing forward bend. Inhale, reach your arms up and overhead. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale and look up halfway, and then back down. Stepping back with that left foot again. Just hold your lunge on the right side. So everybody's different. If you need to modify, you'll drop your left knee down and press on the inner right knee again. But if you can, give this one a shot. I'd like you to take both feet a full 90 degrees to the right. So you're on the outside edge of your left foot, your left leg is straight, your right toes are pointing off to the right, and you let your hips drop a little bit. You should feel this pretty intently in that right outer hip. So you can have your right hand on your right thigh, you can take it to the ceiling, you can even reach it around in front of your right shin, get a little extra something, take one more breath. And then the feet rotate all the way back to the front. Now, please feel free to drop the left knee for our second version of lizard. It's completely up to you. Right hand to the inside of the right foot. See if you can come onto your left forearm, maybe both. Take a breath. Then drop the left knee if it's not already on the mat. Rotate the right foot out. Don't walk it out, but just let it rotate out. Let that right leg drop open a little bit. This should feel quite different. And then you can put your right hand on the inside of the right knee or thigh. Just see what it feels like to give yourself a tiny little bit of pressure here. This is kind of different. It's a little more intense. Take one more breath here. And then both hands are on the mat. So again, it depends upon your body. You can just rotate the right leg back and rock back for a hamstring stretch, or if you have the energy, turn your left toes under and pick your left knee off the floor again and begin to straighten your right leg. And then from here, we'll bend the right knee. Remember, it's okay for your left knee to be down. It's up to you if it's a high lunge or a low lunge. We bring the arms overhead, pelvis tilts, and the hips drop a little bit. Take a couple of breaths wherever you're at. And then bring the hands down and move back into child's pose, which of course is code word for vinyasa if you're in that camp. Scoot forward into either Sphinx or Cobra. And then downward facing dog. Really lengthen your spine. And then take a big step forward with your left foot. So again, your modification, if you need to modify, is to drop the right knee and press on the inside of the left knee. If you feel like you can hang, right hand plants and both feet rotate a full 90 degrees to the left. Right hand can be on the left thigh towards the ceiling or in front of the left shin. You should feel this in your left outer hip. One more breath. And then everything rotates back to the front. Left hand comes inside the left foot. Right knee can be up or down, doesn't matter. Coming onto right forearm, maybe left. And then if your right knee is off the ground, drop it down, rotate the left foot out a little bit. So it's kind of like you're letting that left foot point towards that left upper corner. And then it's purely optional to actually apply a little bit of pressure to the inside of the left knee. This should make it considerably more intense. Couple of breaths. And then you just decide, do you want to keep the knee down for another hamstring stretch like our first series, or do you want to take your right knee back off the ground, hands on either side of the left foot, and you begin to straighten your left leg. From here, bend your left knee, arms are up and overhead, and you find that right front hip stretch. Hands to the mat, step forward to your standing forward bend. Inhale your arms up, and exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, look up. And exhale, back down. This is where it's going to get exciting for a minute. Take your left leg back. Spin your left heel flat and come up into a nice warrior two. So finding your alignment where your right thigh is kind of externally rotating, your right knee is tracking over your second toe, your left leg is straight and strong, and your left foot slightly rotates in. Arms are out to the side. You have a nice soft gaze over your right middle finger. You're going to take your right forearm onto your right thigh. Just take your left hand up towards the ceiling. Come all the way up, and if you can, keep your right knee bent. Left hand on the left thigh, right arm up and over. Come back up. Keep your right knee bent. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together and try and fold right down the midline of your body. Take a few breaths. You should be feeling your right hip about now. All right, here's what we're going to do. Hands on either side of the right foot, swivel onto the left toes. Drop your left knee down. Right foot walks over towards the left side of the mat. Let your right shin come to the mat and your left leg slide back. And just like that, you're in pigeon. If you have knee issues, please roll onto your back and cross your right ankle over your left knee and do a figure four on your back. So if you're in pigeon with me, your left leg slides back until you're definitely feeling this in your right glute, your right buttock. And you want to try and be on the forearms. You don't want to feel it in the right knee, so maybe flex your right ankle. And it's also helpful to have your hips squared off with the floor. So you don't want your right hip plunking over or the left hip plunking over. You want your pelvis parallel to the ground. We're here for about 3 more breaths. We're just going to let this baby unravel. Good. From here, straight into downward facing dog, which should feel pretty blissful. You can pedal the feet, you probably want to, and then really press those hips up and back and the heels down. And just pause here in your down dog. You should be able to feel the difference between your right glute and your left glute, your right hip, your left hip. So just kind of notice if you feel that. And then step your left foot forward, spin your right foot flat, and come up into warrior two on your left side. So just like on the other side, I want you to be really mindful of your alignment. Left knee tracks over second toe. Right leg is straight, right foot is slightly rotated in. Thighs are rotating out. And you have that really nice drishti or soft gaze over your left middle finger. Then we're going to take the left forearm to the left thigh, right hand to the ceiling. Take a couple of breaths here. So the whole idea is we're fatiguing this left hip so that it will release a little easier. So if you can, keep your left knee bent. Come back up. Right hand on right thigh, left arm up and over. Come back up. This is where it gets exciting. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Squeeze your shoulder blades. Try and fold right down the midline of your body, relaxing the neck, keeping that left knee bent. Don't forget to breathe. And then from here, hands on either side of the left foot, swivel back onto your right toes, drop your right knee down, and you're going to walk your left foot over to the right side of the mat. That shin comes to the ground, your right leg slides back, and you'll be in one leg king pigeon pose. So again, you should definitely be feeling this in your left glute. Your hips should be parallel to the ground if you can. Hopefully you're on your forearms. You might be on a block. That's great. Some of you might actually be flattened out. Also great. Let's take 3 more slow, deep breaths here. And then from here, straight into downward facing dog so that you can stretch it out. Press those heels down. And then check back in. How did those hips feel? They should be a lot closer to even. Go ahead and walk your feet forward. Standing forward bend. Big inhale, arms up. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. So we're going to balance a little bit today. We're going to do tree pose. And I'm going to give you the option of doing it a slightly different way that's a little more of a hip opener, but it's completely up to you. So if you're balance challenged, you might want something to hang on to. If you have knee or hip issues, you might do this the really traditional way. So let's just see what happens. I want you to stand on your right foot first. So the traditional way would be that your left foot would be at the ankle, the calf, or up inside the thigh. I'm going to offer you an alternative to bring the left foot on top of the right thigh and really strongly press the knee down. Now, maybe you want to do that, maybe you don't. If you have to hang on to your left foot with your right hand, you can do that and just do a left-handed half prayer, or you can leave the leg and bring your palms together. If you're doing the other version, same thing, palms come together, but just breathe. And then release your left foot down. Awesome. All right, so standing on your left foot, right foot, same thing. It can be inside the ankle, calf, or thigh, or it can be up on top of left thigh. Right knee really strongly presses down. This is where that hip action comes in. And you can hang on and just do half prayer with your right hand, or you can have both hands up. And then you just breathe. And release. Nice job, you guys. Feet together, hands together. Big inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, look up halfway. And then back down. You're going to step back with your left foot. Now, here's what I'd like you to do. Move your right foot ever so slightly to the right. Your right knee is going to bend. So it's like our normal lunge, except you have a tiny bit more width between your feet. Then I'd like you to spin your left heel flat. As soon as you do that, your body's going to try to adjust and make this more comfortable, which means your bum is trying to be parallel to the long side of the mat, and I want you to try and make your bum parallel to the short side of the mat. So pull your right hip back and your left hip forward. For those of us who already have tight hips, you can already feel your right hip. How cool is that? We're going to make it more exciting. Bring your right hand inside your right foot. Keep pulling your right hip back, left hip forward. If you can, your right arm reaches under your right leg and you plant your hand on the ground. Your left hand grabs your right ankle and you begin to pull as though you're going to pull your shoulder and your head under your right thigh. You don't have to do that. But if you're doing that action and pulling your right hip back and your left hip forward, you're definitely feeling something in your right hip. Take one more breath. Hands come back out. Swivel onto your left toes. Drop your left knee down. Walk your right foot over to the left side of the mat. This is your second and thankfully last pigeon on the right. Remember, if you've got knee issues, by all means do a figure 4 stretch as a modification. Otherwise, this time through, see if you can get your left leg to go a little farther back. Maybe you can flatten your torso out a little more. Just see what your body will allow. And we're going to take 3 extra slow breaths here. Hands come back onto the mat, straight into down dog so that you can kind of stretch it out. And then take a big step forward with your left foot. So here you are in your lunge again. Give yourself that little bit of extra width. Walk your left foot a little over to the left side of the mat. Spin your right heel flat. And you should have felt immediately how your buns tried to rotate now so that they're parallel to the long side of the mat, right? You know we're going to rotate them back around. So you're trying to get hips to square off with the short side of the mat, pulling your left hip back, right hip forward. Left hand inside that left foot. If you're already at a really intense stretch level, you can stay here. If you want a little more, your left hand reaches under your left leg. Your right hand grabs that left ankle and you pull like you're trying to pull your head and shoulder underneath that left thigh. Should be pretty intense. Take a couple breaths. And then come on out of that. Swivel back onto the right toes. Drop your right knee down. Left foot walks over to the right side of the mat. Second and last pigeon on this side. Remember, figure 4 is an option. Otherwise, right leg maybe slides a little farther back. Come onto your forearms, maybe even flattening out. Try and get a little deeper in if you can. And then let's take those 3 extra deep, slow breaths. And then straight back into downward facing dog. Stretch it out. Press your hips up and back. Press your heels down. Those of you that are doing vinyasas, you may take one. The rest of us are going to take a well-earned child's pose. Forehead down, buns to heels. And then scoot forward into Sphinx. And then your final downward facing dog. Make sure you really lengthen your spine here. And then I'd like you to drop to your knees, all fours. Cross your left knee behind your right knee. Separate the feet a little bit and just see if you can sit back between the heels. So this is the leg position for Gomokasana or cow face pose. Some American teachers call it knee pile, which is a good name. Some of us are better at piling one knee on top of the other than some of us. So do your best. Those of us of the tight hip camp, we feel it in the right hip. Some of you guys don't feel this at all. Go ahead and just shift forward, uncross the legs. This time the right leg goes behind the left. The feet separate slightly, and you sit down between the heels, if you can. And if not, keep some weight on the hands. Take a couple of breaths here. This should be a left hip stretch. And then back onto all fours, give yourself a little tail wag. Bring your knees together, sink the hips back and slightly shift them to the right. You should feel a little bit of a stretch on the right outer hip. Come on up, shift them to the left. And then extend your legs out in front of you and come into Dandasana. So just finding your sit bones, legs are extended and active, spine is straight, chest is lifted. Take a couple of breaths. Good. And then we're going to keep the right leg straight, but we're going to bring the left foot to the top of the right thigh. Flex the left ankle and lean out over your right leg. So you might feel this in your left hip. Not a bad thing since that's what we're trying to do. If you have very open hips, you're only feeling this in your right hamstring. So take a couple breaths. Now, if you would like to feel more in the hip, your left hand is going to go to the center of your left thigh. You're going to press it down a little bit and kind of roll it out while you lean more to the right. Coming up from that, let your left foot cross all the way over your right thigh. Make sure your left foot's flat, and we're going to twist to the left. So lift up through the chest. Left hand is behind you. You can either hug your left knee or bring that right arm outside of it. Come all the way back around, extend your left leg out. You can give both legs a good wiggle. And then keep your left leg straight. We're going to bring the right foot on top of the left thigh, just above the knee. Flex that right ankle, lean out over your left leg. So same thing. Maybe you just feel it in the left hamstring. If that's the case, that means your right hip is pretty open, so that's good. If you're feeling it in the right hip, it means you need it. So that's good. So no matter what, it's a win-win situation. Take one more breath here and then decide if you want to take it up a level. If you do, your right hand comes to the center of the right thigh. You kind of press it down and slightly roll it out as you lean a little more to the left. And then we come up from this and let the left foot slide all the way across so the foot is flat. Lift up through the chest, begin twisting to the right. So you either hug your right knee or bring your left arm outside of it. Your spine should be straight, your shoulders should be relaxed. And then extend the right leg out. Give both legs a good wiggle. And just like that, we're rolling onto our back because we have a lot more hip step to do. So roll onto your back. I'm not even going to make you do anything with your abs. It's a miracle. Roll onto your back. Hug your knees in. Rock side to side. So the first thing we're going to do is a traditional figure 4. Some of you may have already done this if you have knee issues, so you get to do it again. Right ankle over left knee. Flex your right ankle. Reach through to grab either the back of the left thigh or the front of the left shin. And then pull your left knee in towards your chest. You should feel this in your right glute. Take a couple breaths. Then you're going to put your left foot back down on the ground. We're going to grab the inside of the arch of the right foot with the right hand. Come into that right half of a dead bug. Find a good stretch here and then extend your left leg out. And that should intensify it a little bit. Remember, you're actually applying pressure on this right foot. It's like you're trying to get your right knee to the floor. Go ahead and grab whatever you can now on your right leg. You want to fully extend it. Make sure your knee is straight. Gently pull it towards you for a hamstring stretch. And then hug your right knee in. Give it a nice squeeze. And we'll transition this into a twist. So you're going to just twist to your left. Let your right arm open out to your right. Let your head turn to the right if that feels okay with you. If you need to modify this, you can bend both knees. That'll make it a little bit gentler on the back. Couple more breaths on this side. And then come back up, hug your right knee in, bring your left knee up to meet it, and rock side to side. All right, all of that good stuff on the other side. Left ankle crosses right knee, flex your left ankle, either grab behind the right thigh or in front of the right shin, and then pull your right knee into your chest until you feel this in your left glute. And then we're going to just put the right foot back down. Let the left hand grab the inside of the left arch of your foot. Get your lower leg vertical, so half a dead bug. Pull on that left foot, then extend your right leg all the way out to intensify it just a little more. And then grab whatever you can on that left side. It can be your thigh, your calf, your foot, even your pants. Try and straighten your left leg completely. Give yourself a little bit of a hamstring stretch. And then from here, we hug the left knee in and transition into a twist. Twisting to the right, letting the left arm open out to the left and the head turn to the left. And so again, if you need to, please feel free to bend both knees to make this a little bit gentler. On your next inhale, come back up, and as you exhale, hug your left knee in. Bring your right knee up to meet it, rock side to side. Now I'd like you to put your feet flat, and we're going to take them outside the edges of the mat. So you want that really wide stance. On your next exhale, you're going to drop both knees to the left and just kind of pause. You should feel a gentle stretch on the right outer hip. If you want to feel more, the first thing you do is make sure that your right knee is straight down and that your right ankle is straight out. So in other words, a straight line and then 90 degrees at the knee. If you still aren't feeling enough, then your left ankle can come on top of that right knee. And you relax the left leg so that the weight of it adds a little bit of intensity to your stretch. Take a few breaths here. Make sure that you're not feeling it in your back. You don't want to feel that. If you do feel it in your back, try and get your right hip back down. Go ahead and take your left foot off your right knee if it was there and put it back outside the left side of the mat. Bring both knees up, drop them over to the right. Check in, see how it feels in the left outer hip. If you want more, just double check alignment first. Then if you decide to, right foot is on top of left knee or thigh. When you relax that right leg, it's perfect. Our body parts are always perfect for our other body parts, right? So the weight of your right leg is just the right amount to add some extra stretch to that left IT band and outer hip area. And then we're going to take the right foot, put it back outside the mat. And now I want you to keep your feet wide, but prop your knees together. Take a couple of breaths here. You're going to feel it in your outer hips. Then hug your knees in. Rock side to side. And then we're going to take the right thigh tightly over the left thigh. Hug the knees in. This is kind of like what we did in a seated position. We got there from kneeling today. Reach down. If you can, grab your feet or ankles. Try and get 90 degrees at your knees and apply a little bit of pressure to your feet. If that's not accessible to you, then just hug your knees in. Then keep your knees tightly crossed, but let go. Let's draw 3 big circles in the air with the knees in each direction. Uncross your legs, give them a good squeeze. And then we're going to take left thigh tightly over right thigh. Same thing. If you can, grab the feet or ankles. And if not, that's okay. Just hug your knees in. If you've got the feet or ankles, you want to try and get a 90-degree angle at the knees and then apply some pressure. Release whatever you're hanging on to. Keep your thighs crossed. Draw 3 big circles in the air in each direction. And then uncross your legs, hug your knees in, rock side to side. And then I'd like you to choose your inversion today. You can do whatever feels good to you. So you can take legs up and overhead for plow. You can take them straight into the air for a shoulder stand. You can put your feet on the mat and come into a bridge pose. Whatever feels good to you, but I want you to be able to hold it for 6 full, slow breaths, all right? So whatever you choose. I'm going to do plow because it's a nice glute stretch, but you don't have to do that. Whatever feels good to you. 6 breaths in the inversion of your choice. When you've had your 6 breaths, you can slowly roll down, hug your knees in, reach down, grab your feet, and happy baby, you made it. All the hard stuff's over. So you can wiggle, you can stretch, you can move, you can roll, whatever feels good to you. Just kind of explore. You did so much hip stuff, like all the way around. You should have gotten it all out. But just kind of see if there's anything lingering, and if there is, see if you can release it here. We'll take just a couple more breaths. And then when you're ready, place your feet on the ground, let the knees drop open, soles of the feet together. Take a deep breath in and flatten the back. Hold it while you breathe out, while you breathe in. And on your next exhale, release and relax. One more time, inhale, flatten the back. Hold it, breathe. Exhale and release. Begin to extend your legs, separate the feet, wiggle them a little bit if you need to. And lengthen your spine, soften your jaw, close your eyes, take a deep breath in. Big exhale. Settle in to your Shavasana. So just allowing yourself to really enjoy the relaxation that you've earned through your practice today. Letting all of the lessons, so to speak, that your body just learned really kind of soak in and absorb. I like to think of this almost as the assimilation phase. So just taking those few deep, slow breaths, and then allowing your breath to completely relax along with your body so that you're no longer exerting any effort with your breath either. Let that completely relax. Bring your awareness to the center point between your eyebrows. And let that just be a soft internal gaze. And let it be a gaze that encompasses everything. In other words, you have no thoughts or expectations or preconceived notions or desires about anything. You're simply gazing from the inside at this point between your eyebrows, and you're just allowing yourself to be open to whatever. Open, basically, to everything. Notice how often your mind wants to wander. Perhaps it already has, and I'm reminding you to bring it back. Or maybe you've been able to sustain the gaze, but you've noticed that your mind really wants to create thoughts. It really wants to create stories. Just be open. Just keep your gaze at the place between the eyebrows and simply experience everything. Start to allow your awareness to move throughout your entire body now. And as you move your awareness throughout your entire body, can you maintain that sense of openness, of just allowing in the sensations rather than thoughts? Start to deepen your breath. Start to move your fingers and toes a little bit. When you feel like you're ready, spread your fingers and toes. Exhale through your mouth as you relax. Even deeper breath in as you really stretch and lengthen arms, legs, everything, and then exhale with a sigh and relax. Bend your knees. It's up to you whether you hug them in or not. And then just gently roll to one side. Preferably your right, but you can roll to either side. And then use your left hand in front of your chest and just press up into sitting. So as you come to your seated position, come back to your aligned spine, just like you did at the beginning of class, but just notice, how does the seat itself feel? Do your hips feel more open? Is it easier to be in a cross-legged position or to have a straight spine? All of those are results of the work that you did in your practice today. So for our pranayama today, we're going to be doing a 1-to-2 ratio breath, just a 1-to-2 ratio breath. But I'm going to challenge you to make it a little bit longer each time if you feel comfortable with it. And the idea, of course, is complete control of the breath. And you'll have to use that ujjayi breath to prolong your exhale. So I'm trying to get you to find your most comfortable limit today. Maybe you start out inhaling for 3 and exhaling for 6. And maybe that feels like that's it for you. So, okay. Maybe you feel like you could do a 4-8 breaths. You try that and that feels pretty good. Maybe you do it a couple of times. Maybe you feel like you could progress to a 5 inhale, 10 exhale. If you try it and you struggle, maybe you drop back down to a 4-8. So just kind of play with it. Give yourself time. We're actually going to breathe for about 2 or 3 minutes. So you've got time to very slowly ease into longer and longer breaths, if that's possible for you. Just as a reminder, you heard me say it a minute ago, no struggle though. So no anxiety, no striving, just ever deeper, slower breaths. 1-to-2 ratio breathing with an ujjayi exhale. So just take a nice deep breath in through your nose. Exhale completely through your nose. And then it's all your count, 1-to-2 ratio breathing. As you finish out the breath you're on, just remain still and quiet with the eyes closed, but let your breath go back to just its nice, easy, gentle, shallow rhythm. So just normal breathing. And just notice how you feel overall. Your body, of course, but also your mind, your heart, your energy. So this is the sequence that yoga really was designed to be. Movement to burn off tension and make muscles stronger, longer, and more balanced so that the body is not a distraction. Breath work to help bring you to a point of one-pointed focus and calm. And then this, sitting in openness with a happy body and a quiet mind. So let's bring our palms together in front of our hearts. First, in gratitude for this amazing discipline of yoga. It's just an art and science that I personally don't know how I would live without. So lots of gratitude for yoga and the many, many, many yogis that stretch back over thousands of years that have kept this practice alive. And then gratitude for your body, the body that you're sitting in. Maybe even tell it thank you. Gratitude for your breath. Gratitude for another day on this planet. And then just take one more huge inhale. Big happy sigh. Palms to the forehead. Just a reminder to be present, to pay attention. Palms to the lips, reminding us to speak our truth. And palms to the heart, reminding us to keep our hearts open, to always practice kindness, compassion, and love. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Namaste.